Welcome to the deep dive. I'm so thrilled you're here with us today
Absolutely. It is great to be here.
because I know you've been doing a lot of reading lately. You've really been getting into the weeds of world building and uh, expansive lore.
Oh, yeah, the
Mm.
really dense stuff.
Exactly, the dense stuff. Specifically, that incredibly niche intersection where epic fantasy meets just deep, deep psychological trauma.
Which is such a fascinating space to explore.
It really is. And because I know that's exactly what you're looking for, I brought something incredibly special to the table today.
I am very excited for this one.
We are looking at a massive, sprawling, and frankly pretty intimidating fantasy manuscript. It's known as the Dystopia texts.
Intimidating is definitely the right word for it.
Right. I mean, when I say massive, it covers the literal creation of the universe.
It goes all the way back to the beginning.
Right. It tracks the evolution of single-celled microbes traveling through the cosmos on dormant rocks.
It maps out the genesis of entire species.
And it chronicles these epic planet-altering wars between colossal elemental beasts.
Which is amazing. But
But honestly, we would be here for a week if we tried to cover all of that today.
exactly, we need a multi-volume series just to get through the first epoch alone.
Yeah, we really would. Which is why we're taking a completely different approach for you today.
We're zooming all the way in.
Right past the cosmic scale, past the planetary warfare, we are zeroing in on one of the most tragic, intimate, and psychologically complex narrative arcs in the entire lore.
It's a really special part of the text.
Today, our mission for this deep dive is exploring the story of Ashtasha and Sir J-Star.
A truly heartbreaking dynamic.
And I just want to plant a question in your mind right at the top. Think about this as we go along today. What happens when the ultimate embodiment of cosmic evil tries to have a best friend?
It sounds almost like the setup to a dark comedy, doesn't it?
It really does, like a sitcom pitch.
Right. But within the framework of this specific manuscript, it is the recipe for an absolute heart-wrenching tragedy.
Yeah, there's nothing funny about how this plays out.
Not at all. The dystopia texts are renowned for their sweeping scale, but this particular narrative stands out because it is surprisingly grounded.
It slows way down.
Exactly. When the lore shifts its focus to Ashtasha in Sir J-Star time, just seems to slow down.
You go from seeing civilizations rise and fall in a single paragraph,
To spending pages on a single conversation.
or just a quiet moment in a hidden cavern.
Right. We are dealing with themes of inherent darkness, the desperate pursuit of sanctuary, the burden of toxic origins.
And ultimately a betrayal so devastating it literally shatters the ground they stand on.
It is a heavy, heavy story.
I am so ready to get into this, but before we even get to the friendship or the betrayal, we have to talk about where our central figure Ashtasha actually comes from.
Her origin is essential.
Because her origin story is, intense doesn't even begin to cover it.
Intense is an understatement.
I was reading through the environmental descriptions of her birthplace, and I had to stop and reread it 3 times.
Just to make sure you read it right.
Yeah, just to wrap my head around the sheer hostility of it.
You really cannot understand Ashtasha's trajectory without a complete understanding of her genesis. The context is everything here.
So let's set the stage.
In this world, there is a location known as the Dark Mountain.
Right.
But calling it a mountain is almost a disservice to the geography. It is a volcanic, acidic, nightmare landscape.
Just completely inhospitable.
Exactly. It's a jagged black expanse that constantly spews this thick, poisonous smog into the atmosphere.
And the ground itself is alive, basically.
The soil is essentially boiling, because just beneath the crust flows a massive, raging river of hot magma.
So anything that touches it.
Anything unlucky enough to wash ashore on this landmass is immediately cooked to charcoal and consumed.
Wow.
But the physical geography is only half the story. The most crucial detail about the Dark Mountain is what it actually represents.
This is the part that really got me.
It is the physical manifestation, almost like the crown of a colossal, world-consuming entity known as addiction.
Okay, stop right there. Because when I first read the word addiction in the notes, I thought it was a metaphor.
A lot of people do.
Like a cursed land where people lose their minds to their vices. But that's not what this is. Addiction is a literal physical beast, right?
That's right. It is not an abstract concept. Addiction is a colossal, dragonite beast.
A literal monster.
Yes. Long before the events of Ashtasha's story, this great beast was pushed back in a massive elemental conflict and trapped deep within the planet.
So it's underground.
It sits on the ocean floor in the crushing depths, but its influence reaches up through the Earth's crust to form this dark mountain.
That is such a terrifying image.
Addiction is an entity of pure insatiable consumption. It breathes despair.
It feeds on fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feeds on the fear of the sentient beings on the surface, and it constantly lusts for complete control over the humanoid populations.
And the Dark Mountain is its physical domain.
It's terrestrial domain, yes.
Yeah.
It's a place completely devoid of light, populated by these mindless, violent monsters called Orc-Ricki.
And the Orc-Ricki, the way they are created, is absolutely vile.
It is deeply visceral.
They aren't born in a traditional sense.
No, they are literally mined from the defecation of the mountain itself. They pull themselves out of the toxic sludge.
It's so gross.
It is. This is the realm, the absolute undisputed peak of toxicity and darkness from which Ashtasha emerges.
Because she is the firstborn child of the great beast addiction.
Exactly.
So she isn't just born on the mountain, she is forged by it.
Forged is the perfect word.
And the gestation process, I need you to walk us through this because it's
Yeah.
so strange. It doesn't start with a cradle or a traditional biological womb.
No, not at all.
It starts with a single cell.
Yes, a glowing amber cell.
Oh.
The lore paints a picture of a biological and geological fusion.
Which is super unique.
It is. This glowing amber is pushed up to the volcanic surface by the hot breath of addiction from the ocean floor.
So it floats up.
It floats on the poisonous smog for a time, suspended in the toxic air before gravity finally pulls it back down onto the boiling stone.
And when it lands, it doesn't just sit there.
No, it burrows deep into the rock. It generates such intense heat and chemical energy that it literally turns the surrounding solid rock into liquid muck.
To form a shell.
Right, to form a protective barrier around itself.
Like a geological womb.
Precisely. Down there in the earth, it feeds on veins of liquid metal.
It's drinking metal.
It draws sustenance from melting lava gathering mass and swelling into a dark, rocky cocoon shaped somewhat like a small bird's egg.
But not a fragile egg.
No, this amber egg isn't incubated by warmth and softness. It is incubated by extreme heat-harsh minerals and sheer geological violence.
The environment is just punishing.
The text places her emergence on what it calls the ninth moon. But it's the environmental conditions of that specific night that truly define the hostility of her existence.
Right, the climate during her hatching. I really want you to picture this scene because it is apocalyptic.
It's a nightmare.
When Ashtasha finally breaks free, it is not a quiet little hatching in a nest. The weather on this ninth moon is essentially a chemical weapon.
That's a great way to put it.
It's raining, but it's not water. It is falling fluorine acid gas.
Let's break down the chemistry of that for a moment, just to understand the scale of the hostility.
Please do.
Fluorine is one of the most reactive, dangerous elements in existence. It will burn through almost anything.
And it's raining down.
If it's falling as an acidic gas, the very air is corrosive. The atmosphere is thick with phosphorus, and there are rolling clouds of gassy chlorine sweeping across the landscape.
And the lightning, that was the detail that completely blew my mind.
It's not standard electrostatic lightning.
Right.
Because the air is saturated with white phosphorus and chlorine gas, they are reacting with each other.
So it's chemical lightning.
Yes. The white phosphorus chases the chlorine in the atmosphere, creating bright, explosive chemical detonations in the sky.
That is insane.
Natural arsenic is precipitating between the smog clouds.
Wow.
And on the ground, rolling rivers of reflective mercury are mirroring all of this explosive carnage above.
It's basically an environment of pure volatile destruction. Fluorine, phosphorus, chlorine, arsenic, mercury.
You couldn't design a more toxic combination if you tried in a lab.
You really couldn't. And into this violent, explosive nightmare, we get this incredibly striking, almost jarring image.
It's very cinematic.
A child's hand smashes through the softened, boiling ground.
A human-looking child's hand surrounded by rivers of mercury and explosive phosphorus.
The contrast is deeply unsettling.
It is, but the entity that pulls herself out of that muck is immediately adapted to the horror.
She has to be.
She doesn't gasp for clean air or cry for warmth. To gain strength, the infant Ashtasha immediately drinks molten lava.
Just scoops it up.
She consumes a meal of liquid metals to quench her thirst.
Mm.
And she isn't alone for long.
Right, the dogs.
She's accompanied by these terrifying demon dogs, a gift from her father, Addiction, sent to watch over her and protect her as she takes her first steps in this toxic wasteland.
So she is literally drinking lava right out of the gate. Which makes me think about the age-old debate of nature versus nurture.
It's a very relevant debate here.
But how can we even apply that concept to a being like Ashtasha?
It's a brilliant question, and it's central to why this lore is so compelling. In Ashtasha's case, nature and nurture are the exact same thing.
A literal pool of acid and liquid metal.
Exactly. It forces us to confront the concept of absolute determinism. She had zero chance at anything resembling a normal morality.
How could she?
She was incubated in toxicity. Her first meals were fire. Her first breaths were corrosive gas.
It's just baked into her.
How does a conscious entity escape an origin story written in acid? The environment is setting her up as the physical manifestation of her father's malice.
She is sculpted by the harshest conditions imaginable.
Completely.
But she isn't just a mindless monster, and that's where the tragedy really begins to take shape.
This is where it gets complex.
Let's get into the psychology of this character because there's this massive glaring contradiction regarding who she is.
The duality is striking.
On the surface to the outside world, she is terrifying. She grows up to be the feared princess of the great beast addiction.
A very heavy title.
She becomes the feeder of darkness, the princess of shame. She commands and raises massive armies of those orc-ricki monsters we talked about.
She leads the horde.
She hunts. She destroys. She is the apex predator of this dark realm. But internally...
Internally, she is completely enslaved.
Exactly.
The dichotomy between her external dominance and her internal powerlessness is the engine of her psychological torment.
It's fascinating.
We have to go back to the mechanics of her father. Addiction isn't just sitting blindly on the ocean floor.
Right, he's connected to her.
He has a direct, unbroken telepathic line straight into Ashtasha's mind. The lore is incredibly specific about this mechanism.
It's a constant broadcast.
Her head is entirely filled with the booming ancient voice of addiction. It is an unending broadcast that she cannot turn off.
The language used to describe this psychic link is so visceral. It says, addiction consistently whispers fears into her ears, filling her head with absolute dread.
It's a psychological torture.
He whispers festering filth. She is a slave to these demands, constantly bending to the will of this madness.
Just imagine that existence.
I was trying to. You're born in acid. Your body runs on liquid metal, and from the very first moment you have consciousness, there's an ancient dragonite god in your head whispering the most horrific, anxiety-inducing thoughts imaginable.
Every second of every day.
Every single second.
It's an agonizing existence. And it raises profound questions about autonomy. Is she genuinely evil, or is she a prisoner in her own body?
A very dark prisoner.
The lore explicitly states that she is driven to madness by this voice. But it also reveals the twisted incentive structure of her entire life.
The reward system.
Exactly. There's only one way she ever gets any relief. The only time she ever experiences a single fleeting second of silence in her head is when she achieves what her father deems moments of glory.
Right, but we need to define glory here, because in the context of the Dark Mountain, a moment of glory doesn't mean winning a tournament or creating something beautiful.
Not at all.
For Ashtasha, a moment of glory means committing acts of horrific violence. It means destruction. It means leading those Orc-Ricki armies to slaughter.
Exactly, and the cruelty of it is that the silence is always temporary.
It never lasts.
She commits an atrocity, the voice stops for just a second, and then it comes rushing back, often louder and more demanding than before.
So she has to keep doing it.
This fleeting relief only leads to deeper insanity, driving her to seek out more destruction purely for the purpose of achieving another moment of silence.
That is incredibly bleak. I need a second to process that.
Yeah.
She isn't burning villages because she enjoys watching them burn.
No, she isn't.
She's doing it to hit a mute button in her own brain.
That's the core tragedy. If we look at the metaphor operating beneath the surface of the fantasy, it is a chilling personification of severe intrusive thoughts, severe OCD, or real-world addiction.
It maps so perfectly.
The fantasy externalizes an internal torment. In our world, a person suffering from severe addiction might perpetuate destructive cycles, not out of inherent malice, but out of a desperate, agonizing need to quiet the physical or psychological noise in their own mind.
The compulsion demands to be fed.
To be silenced, yes.
Yeah.
Ashtasha is perpetuating cosmic evil, not because she possesses a purely malicious soul, but because she is an absolute unyielding agony.
She is paying for peace with the blood of others.
That is exactly what she's doing.
It completely reframes her character. She's a victim of her own biology and her father's literal psychic abuse.
She really is.
But, and this is the pivot that takes this from a dark fantasy into a truly heartbreaking story. Despite all of that, despite the festering filth constantly whispering in her mind, she tries to find another way out.
She really tries.
She tries to escape. Which brings us to the creation of her alter ego.
This is where she attempts to exercise some form of agency, however flawed it turns out to be. Ashtasha desperately seeks a sanctuary away from the demands of her father and the oppressive reality of the Dark Mountain.
She needs a break.
To do this, she creates a completely separate identity. She gets lost within an alter ego.
And the way she does this is so eerie. It's not just a magical illusion.
No, it's very physical.
She literally wears human skin. The lore says she hides under skin, worn like an outfit to conceal her true, rocky, lava-fueled form.
Like slipping on a disguise.
She puts on human skin the way you or I would put on a winter coat. And she leaves the mountain to walk among the regular populations of humanoids. She builds a complete double life.
The creation of this skin suit is a profound act of desperation. It is her trying to physically outrun her origin.
Trying to be someone else.
By wearing the skin of a humanoid, she's trying to adopt their existence, trying to blend into a world that's defined by light, community, and connection, rather than acid, fear, and magma.
A total opposite world.
She is looking for a safe space where the voice of addiction might be muffled, where she isn't the feared commander of the Orc-Rikai, but just a normal person.
And against all odds, in this desperate escape attempt, she finds something completely unprecedented for a creature of her nature.
She finds a genuine best friend.
Which introduces us to Sir J-Star. We really need to unpack his backstory because he is the perfect foil to Ashtasha.
He is the exact opposite in many ways.
He wasn't always a brave knight. He started life as a blind childling, and his blindness wasn't natural. It was the result of a horrific trauma.
Yes, his origin is marked by a very different kind of cruelty.
Yeah.
When he was very young, his eyes were literally plucked out by a magical white crow.
Way back up, a white crow plucked his eyes out. Who sent the crow?
The lore indicates the crow was the familiar of a dark spellcaster.
Okay.
We don't get the full biography of this spellcaster in this particular arc, but the act itself serves a thematic purpose.
To show his trauma.
J-Star experienced extreme vulnerability and darkness early in life inflicted upon him by a malicious external force.
Just like Ashtasha.
Exactly. But his reaction to that darkness was the complete opposite of Ashtasha's. Instead of becoming an engine of destruction, he adapted.
He pushed through it.
He learned to navigate the world without sight. He became an incredible acrobat, an entertainer relying on his other senses and his sheer willpower.
He didn't let the darkness consume him, and eventually he earns his sight back, right?
Through a later magical encounter, yes, his vision is restored, and he takes that second chance at life and channels it into becoming a protector.
A knight?
He becomes a proud, highly skilled knight of Brassingtown. He is brave, he is unwaveringly loyal, he is a hero.
He represents everything that Ashtasha's true nature is fundamentally opposed to.
Everything.
And yet they meet. The Knight of Brassingtown and the Princess of Addiction hiding in a skin suit.
Two very different worlds colliding.
And they don't just become acquaintances, they form this incredibly deep bond. The lore describes it as a perfectly platonic relationship built on absolute trust.
A very rare thing.
They view each other as a long-lost sibling or an unknown twin.
That phrase, unknown twin, is vital. It suggests a mirroring effect.
Because of the shared trauma.
Exactly. They both experienced profound trauma inflicted by dark magical forces. Ashtasha by her father J-Star, by the spellcaster's crow.
They saw themselves in each other.
Perhaps they recognized that underlying survival instinct in each other, whatever the catalyst. This wasn't a fleeting alliance. This was a bond built meticulously over years of shared investment.
I really want you to think about how rare that is. For someone born in boiling rock, running from a godlike voice in her head to find someone she genuinely views as her twin.
It's beautiful in a way.
And because they are best friends, they have a secret spot. I mean, every pair of best friends has a secret spot, right?
Of course.
But theirs is a place called the Secret Living Palace. And the way this place is described it is absolutely magical. It is the polar opposite of the volcanic nightmare she came from.
It serves as the physical manifestation of her alter ego's ultimate sanctuary. Contrast this space with the boiling magma, the fluorine gas, and the explosive phosphorus of her home.
It's night and day. So to even get to the Secret Living Palace, you have to know where to look.
It's well hidden.
The entrance to the cave system is completely covered and hidden by a massive hollow tree, which they named the Gatekeeper tree.
The gatekeeper, yes.
To get inside, you step into the trunk of the tree and you have to slide down this long, narrow, hollow chute. But it's not just a simple slide.
No, it has a security measure.
It's a trap if you don't know the exact sequence. The lore specifically notes that halfway down the slide, you have to take a quick, deliberate step to the right.
It's a physical password. If you don't step to the right, the chute suddenly drops, steep and vertical.
And you fall.
And you will plummet down and break your bones on the cavern floor.
Yeah.
But if you know the secret, if you step right, the path shifts into a smooth, long slide that was forged over centuries by falling waters.
I love that detail. It means J-Star only knows how to enter because Ashtasha explicitly taught him the physical sequence.
The mechanics of entering the sanctuary are deeply symbolic. It requires insider knowledge, yes, but more importantly, it requires absolute trust.
She trusted him completely.
Ashtasha trusted J-Star with the mechanism of her vulnerability. It represents the profound risk of letting someone into your innermost safe space, especially when you are a being constantly hunted by your own internal demons.
And when you take that step to the right and you finally reach the bottom of the slide, the visual is just stunning.
It's a gorgeous description.
You step out onto a large stone platform that juts out over a humongous underground cavern, but it's not dark and terrifying like the mountain.
It's illuminated.
The walls are lined with thousands of gentle glowworms casting this soft, starry light.
Very peaceful.
And far below the stone platform, there is an expanse of deep, clear water. If you look over the edge, you can see the shimmer of these giant bioluminescent fish swimming gracefully in the depths.
Such a contrast.
The lore describes the atmosphere of this cavern as a place of beautiful silence.
Beautiful silence. That phrase is the thematic anchor of this entire segment. Remember what Ashtasha is constantly running from.
The booming wave.
She is running from the booming, unending, terrifying broadcast of addiction in her mind. This cavern, this secret living palace with its gentle glowworms and silent glowing fish, provides the one thing she values above all power, above all glory.
It provides peace.
It provides peace. And she chooses to share this most sacred peace with J-Star.
Which brings up a really difficult philosophical question. If Ashtasha is fundamentally made of toxic elements forged by a beast of pure consumption, can she actually experience genuine love and friendship?
It's the big question.
Or is the whole thing just a long con?
Based on the framing of this specific narrative, we are led to believe that for a time the connection was entirely genuine.
It was real to her.
They spent years together in that beautiful silence. It proves that the capacity for connection exists even in the most fundamentally corrupted entities.
The skin suit wasn't just a disguise.
The alter ego wasn't just a disguise used to spy on humanoids or hunt them. It was a desperate, genuine attempt to inhabit a different way of being. She built a sanctuary. She built a friendship.
And there is always a but in the dystopia texts. The sanctuary is built on a foundation of stolen skin.
Precisely. The tragic flaw in her escape plan is the reality of her determinism.
You can't outrun it.
You cannot outrun your fundamental nature forever, not when your creator is a godlike beast plugged directly into your consciousness. The voice of addiction was muffled, perhaps, but it was never truly gone.
Which brings us to the most heartbreaking sequence of events, the tragic betrayal. Because that beautiful silence doesn't last.
It never could.
We don't know exactly what triggers it. Maybe the voice of addiction grew too loud. Maybe the pressure of maintaining the skin suit became too much. But Ashtasha comes to a devastating realization.
She changes her mind.
She begins to view her humanoid connections, her emotions, and her entire friendship with J-Star not as a sanctuary, but as a fatal weakness.
In the brutal, unforgiving hierarchy of the Dark Mountain, emotional leverage is a death sentence. To care about something is to give your enemies a weapon to use against you.
It's a liability.
We have to assume that the voice of addiction seized upon this vulnerability. It likely whispered that this friendship was pathetic, that it was holding her back from her true glory.
It got in her head again.
To protect herself. Or perhaps simply to appease that relentless voice demanding destruction, she employs a terrible cold logic. She decides she must kill off her alter ego and completely sever any links to the light.
And killing off her alter ego doesn't just mean taking off the skin suit, tossing it in a river, and walking away.
No, that wouldn't be enough.
In her twisted logic, to truly sever the tie, she has to destroy the very anchor of that alter ego. She has to destroy the person who knew her best. She has to execute Sir J-Star.
And the way she orchestrates it is an act of profound psychological cruelty. She doesn't hunt him down in the forest.
No, she uses the sanctuary.
She uses the sanctuary against him.
Right. She lures him there. He sends him a message or leaves a sign calling him to the secret living palace. You can imagine J-Star, this brave knight, sliding down the hollow trunk of the gatekeeper tree.
Doing the familiar routine.
Dutifully taking that quick step to the right, expecting to find his best friend, his unknown twin, waiting for him in their quiet place. He arrives on the open stone platform overlooking the deep water.
Expecting peace.
But instead of the beautiful silence, the shadows come alive.
The violation of the sanctuary is what elevates this from a simple battle scene into a profound tragedy. The one place of absolute safety is inverted into the site of his intended execution.
The ultimate betrayal.
As J-Star stands on the platform, the darkness at the edges of the cavern begins to shift.
It's a massive ambush. Herds of Orcricai beasts, those mindless, violent, sludge-born monsters from her father's mountain, start crawling out from underneath the stone platform.
They are everywhere.
They drop down from the cavern ceiling. They swarm from the left and the right tunnels. They pour onto the ledge like a tsunami of violence.
It's overwhelming.
And the emotional crash hits J-Star instantly, long before the first weapon even strikes him. In that split second, looking at the sheer volume of dark mountain monsters in this hidden cavern, he realizes the truth.
It all clicks for him.
Ashtasha was the only other person in the universe who knew the directions to this location. His best friend set the trap.
The psychological warfare here is just as potent as the physical assault. J-Star's pride, his worldview, and his absolute trust are shattered simultaneously.
It breaks him.
But crucially, he is a knight of Brassingtown. He survived the White Crow. He doesn't just lay down and accept execution.
No, he doesn't. He fights back with everything he has. He draws his sword and shouts a war cry that echoes through the cavern. Not on this day.
A great hero moment.
And he fights valiantly against an endless horde. He's parrying, he's striking, using all of his acrobatic skill to hold the platform.
He is incredibly skilled.
But he's just one man, and the bodies just keep coming. It is a fearless, mindless army of destruction. Eventually, the sheer volume of monsters overwhelms him. They break through his defenses.
They wear him down.
He is beaten, battered, poke-stabbed. He is bleeding out on the cold stone until he is practically unconscious. The lore says he genuinely thinks life has left his body.
He's on the brink of death.
The darkness is filling his vision with glittering stars. He is completely defeated. And then the architect of his demise finally shows herself.
The cinematic framing of this climax is extraordinary. Ashtasha doesn't just walk out of the shadows to gloat.
No, she makes an entrance.
The lore describes her entrance with terrifying physical power. She drops straight through a fissure in the cavern roof, falling like a dark comet.
Like a falling comet. That visual is so powerful. She drops down from the ceiling with this immense weight.
The momentum must have been incredible.
And when she lands on the stone platform next to J-Star's bleeding body, she lands with a stomp so powerful, so filled with dark elemental momentum that her foot actually cracks the solid stone platform.
She breaks the floor.
The structural integrity of the ledge gives way. It breaks free from the cavern walls and begins to tilt forward, sliding toward the deep black waters below.
The physical destruction of the platform perfectly mirrors the destruction of their bond. The very foundation they built their friendship on literally crumbles beneath their feet.
It's all falling apart.
And as this massive slab of rock is tipping toward the water, we get this chilling, intensely intimate final interaction between them.
They are on this collapsing rock together. She is standing over him. He is looking up at her. They are eye to eye for the last time.
A very quiet moment in the chaos.
And Ashtasha looks at the man she viewed as her twin, and she says just 3 words. Goodbye to humanity.
Just 3 words.
And with that, she leaps away. She jumps backward off the collapsing ledge, using the momentum to reach safety, leaving the giant stone platform to crash into the cold, dark waters with J-Star still lying on it.
She literally drowns her past.
Goodbye to humanity. We need to really unpack the layers of that phrase because it is brilliant.
It operates on multiple levels.
On a literal surface level, she is saying goodbye to the human race. She is shedding her disguise and returning to the Dark Mountain to lead the Orcricai armies in a war of cosmic consumption against the surface world.
But on a much deeper psychological level, she is saying goodbye to her own humanity.
Right. She's officially discarding the alter ego. She's throwing away the skin suit, but she's also throwing away the capacity for love, the desire for beautiful silence, all of it.
Exactly. She is executing the only part of herself that was capable of genuine connection.
She sees it as a sickness.
She views that humanity as an infection, a
Yeah.
weakness introduced by her time away from the mountain, and she is surgically removing it by destroying the person who anchored it.
It is so incredibly chilling. Now, we know from the broader lore that J-Star doesn't actually die in this moment.
Right, he survived.
The stone hits the water and he survives the massive splash dive. He sinks into the depths, but his survival instinct kicks in.
He is a survivor at his core.
He manages to crawl away from the bloody sinking battleground. He uses his belly to slither through the muck, gripping the mud at the bottom of the cavern, dragging his battered, broken body away in a desperate retreat.
Just refusing to die.
He eventually finds a crevice between 2 giant rocks underwater, squeezes himself in there, pulls his tethered cape over his head to hide, and basically slips into a deep healing coma.
His physical survival is almost secondary to the emotional death he experiences in that moment. The physical wounds, the stabs, the broken bones, those will eventually knit back together.
But the betrayal,
The betrayal assassinated his innocence and his ability to trust.
the trauma of knowing his unknown twin orchestrated his murder. The lore implies that this wound stays with him forever, heavily influencing the man he becomes as he later begins to write down his recollections in a leather journal using ink mixed with sand and blood.
It fundamentally alters his trajectory. He went into that cavern as a trusting friend, and he crawls out of the mud as someone who understands the true uncompromising nature of the dark entities they share a world with.
Okay, let's take a deep breath here, because that is an incredibly heavy, intense narrative arc to process.
It is a lot to take in.
We've covered the acid birth, the mental enslavement by a literal dragonite god, the creation of the secret palace, and the comet drop betrayal.
A massive...
But I want to pivot here because I want to synthesize what this all means for you listening right now. Why should you care about this bizarre, highly specific fantasy tragedy involving an elemental beast of addiction and a knight sliding down a hollow tree?
You should care because at its absolute core, once you strip away the explosive phosphorus lightning and the Orcrikai monsters, this is a profound and painfully relatable exploration of internal conflict.
It's very human.
Ashtasha's story is fundamentally an examination of the agonizing struggle to outrun your origins. She recognized the darkness in her life, she tried to build a sanctuary away from it, and she even put on a new identity to try and foster a healthy relationship based on mutual trust.
But she couldn't silence the demons she carried with her.
The environment of her origin was too toxic and the voice in her head was too loud.
Exactly. The ultimate tragedy of this arc isn't that she was faking the friendship the whole time.
No, it was real.
The tragedy is that she truly valued that beautiful silence, but she was fundamentally incapable of sustaining it because her foundational nature was in direct conflict with peace.
It's a massive metaphor for self-sabotage, and I think that's why it resonates so deeply.
Definitely.
Obviously, none of us are commanders of sledge-borne monster armies, but we all have parts of ourselves we try to hide from the world.
We all wear our own versions of skin suits or alter egos in certain situations, whether that's at work or in a new relationship.
To blend in or to project a version of ourselves that feels safer and more acceptable.
And we all know or have unfortunately experienced how unaddressed toxic influences can inevitably bleed out and sabotage our most sacred spaces.
It happens all the time.
Whether that toxic influence is literal chemical addiction, as personified by Ashtasha's father, or the lingering effects of unhealed trauma, external familial pressures, or severe anxiety, these internal battles don't just stay internal.
Right. Ashtasha's destruction of the secret living palace is the ultimate act of self-sabotage.
She blows it all up.
She destroys the one purely good thing she has in her life because she feels she doesn't deserve it. Or because the toxic booming voice in her head has convinced her that love and peace make her weak.
Think about how many times people in the real world push away the partners or friends who love them the most, simply because they feel fundamentally unworthy, or because they are terrified that their past will eventually compromise the relationship anyway.
So they strike first.
So they blow it up first.
Precisely. The author is using the extreme, vibrant canvas of high fantasy to magnify a very common, very human psychological reality.
It's a brilliant mirror.
Ashtasha's worldview, warped by her origin, dictates that vulnerability is a weakness that must be eradicated for survival. J-Star's worldview, shaped by overcoming his blindness, dictates that vulnerability is the very foundation of a trusting relationship.
They were destined to crash.
When those two fundamentally opposed operating systems collide, destruction isn't just possible, it's inevitable. The fantasy setting just allows that emotional destruction to manifest as a literal crumbling stone platform dropping into an abyss.
It really is a masterclass in using expansive lore to tell a deeply intimate story. So as we wrap up this journey today, let's just take a quick look back at the ground we've covered.
We've covered quite a bit.
We started in the absolute worst, most toxic conditions imaginable. A glowing amber egg gestating in a pocket of molten lava hatching in an apocalyptic storm of fluorine acid and explosive mercury.
We saw a young being burdened with the unending booming voice of addiction in her mind, driven to acts of horrific violence just to buy a single second of peace.
We explored her desperate attempt to escape that destiny, putting on a disguise, finding an unknown twin in a blind night, and sliding down into a hidden cavern of glowing fish to just sit in beautiful silence.
And finally, we witnessed her heartbreaking surrender to her dark origins, orchestrating a brutal ambush in her own sanctuary and dropping like a comet to shatter her best friend's world.
It is an incredible sweeping arc that seamlessly bridges the gap between cosmic elemental horror and intimate interpersonal betrayal.
It truly is.
But as we finish up today, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to ponder on your own. It revolves around that climax and those final seconds on the falling rock.
Yet think about Ashtasha's final words to Sir J-Star right before she jumps away. Goodbye to humanity.
Was she simply mocking him as she left him to drown? Was it just a cruel, villainous quip from a monster returning to form?
Or, if we truly consider the depth of her internal conflict and the psychological torment of her existence, was her alter ego? Not a disguise at all, but a desperate, genuine expression of her true desired self.
When she shattered that stone platform and threw away her humanity, was she simply executing her best friend?
Or was she tragically and intentionally committing the suicide of her own soul?
Wow. Was she killing him, or was she killing the only good part of herself? That is a question that is going to stick with you long after this deep dive is over. Thank you so much for exploring this incredible corner of the dystopia lore with us today. We hope it gave you some profound new insights to chew on. Keep asking the big questions, keep reading, and we'll see you next time.